Our first stop here in chapter 3 is the if statement. What we are saying here is we need to make a selection. A selection really is, a move between alternatives. So if something is true, then we do this. So the simplest expression is this if statement. So what we're going to do here is look at the actual structure of that if statement, and you know do read through the material here. It'll give you more different examples than we're going to use, but in general, what we're looking at is, setting up a condition whereby we can test between two alternatives. Now, something to note here is you can only ever test two things at a time, A versus B. Then you can do B versus C. Then you can do C versus D. What you cannot do is A versus B versus C at the same time. So each one of these, we're going to start up here with the relational operators, which are things that you've already seen. Greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and not equal to. You will notice here for the not equal to, we use the exclamation point. So what we're saying is essentially one piece of the condition would be here on the left-hand side, and another piece of that condition would be here on the right. So if total income is greater than 50,000, if total income is less than 50,000. Now, the issue with those two, the greater than and the less than, is as follows. If I say is greater than 50,000, that is going to include the number 50,000, or is it going to exclude the number 50,000? So think about that for just a second. Greater than 50,000, is the number 50,000 included in that statement? No, the number 50,000 is not included in that statement. So if I said everybody with an income up to and including 50,000, I could not use the greater than or the less than. I would actually have to use the less than or equal to. This is one of those places where a developer makes mistakes. These are the first time mistakes you are going to make. Make sure that you're really testing for a value below something or above something, or below or equal to, or above or equal to. That's really the big portion here to be aware of is, you're going to have to deal with what happens right there at those boundaries. So as we continue on, you can see here length is less than width, or length is greater than width. Here, and that's less than width down here. So these are all the kinds of expressions that I know we haven't seen, potentially for quite some time, since we had like high school algebra, or I think it's algebra. Maybe it was calculus. You can tell how good I was at this stuff back in high school. But the rules there are exactly the same. So these are things. This mouse is janky. Sorry, guys. These are things that we're going to test in our code samples at the end of the chapter. But these are, certainly true here. Now, let me point out a little bit of something here. This is 3.1 programming style. This is on page 117. How this is written here is a bad habit to form. Is it absolutely positively true that the statement that immediately follows, so if here is an if statement, inside of the parentheses, this is the condition for which we are checking. Value is greater than 32. Here inside of, or here rather after the statement, the very next line of code is automatically associated with this if. but that's very, very sloppy to rely on. It is a far better programming practice to put the curly braces here and here so that we can see that, oh, okay, this system.out.println in fact belongs to the if statement, and this if does not belong to that statement. Here again, could you put on this line the rest of the if statement? Yes, but that's going to get you really angry feedback from other developers in the chain who are like, I didn't see this here, and that's going to be an issue. It is always best to use a program block, the curly braces, and we are going to see that again with the chapter example replets later on, but it's something to be aware of here. Textbooks always do this thing where let me show you, you can do it this way, and then literally like 3 paragraphs later they go, except never ever do that. And the problem is we forget about the never ever do that part. So an if is a simple selection. We are testing something for truth, and whatever is here inside of those parentheses is the thing that we are evaluating. And this is absolutely the case. This is page 118. Beware with the semicolon. The semicolon goes not after the parens, but after the rest of the statement. Other than that, the if statement really is the simplest way to select between alternatives. Greater than, less than or equal to, things of that nature. You've got the if statement.